We're here with actor Adam Kaplan, who is currently starring as Morris Delancey in Newsies. It's your first real big break. I know you graduated from Elon University.
Yeah.
So why don't you talk about when you first wanted to become an actor, what led you to your choice of Elon, and then
Sure.
what it feels like to be in such a huge hit.
Absolutely. I grew up in Connecticut, so I grew up about 45 minutes outside of the city. So I would come in with my family on weekends or with my friends when I was in high school, and I would just see shows all the time. My dad took me to a high school production of West Side Story when I was 6 or 7, and from there I just fell in love with music theater. I went to a high school that was a public school, but it had a really wonderful arts program.
Okay.
And so I was able to get a lot of exposure to, we had great alumni from our school, Justin Paul, Michael Hayden. They brought in people from, master classes from the area, and since we were so close to the city, we were able to get a lot of people to Westport to come teach classes.
Now, did that further enhance it, or you already knew you were going to be what you wanted to be?
I wasn't sure if music theater was something I wanted to do as a profession, and I loved it, and I always felt confident in it, but it wasn't something. My mom actually always says, I can't picture you doing anything else. Ever since you were a kid, that's all you said you wanted to do.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what I don't know if it was ever something that I was like, I can realistically do this. But high school definitely kind of assured that for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I auditioned for colleges my senior year, so I went all across the country with my mom and dad and different schools, and Elon was where I ended up. It was an amazing program, a beautiful campus, and it was very much the environment that I wanted. It was nurturing, warm,
mm-hmm.
small, and they just really pushed me.
What shows did you do while you're at Elon?
At Elon, I did She Loves Me, Hair, Kiss Me Kate, John Bacchino musical, It's Only Life.
Mm-hmm. You didn't have to do nudity in Hair, did you?
We did nudity in Hair.
Wow, in college. That'll get your feet wet and throw you right in.
Go for it. Yeah. No, it was great. And in North Carolina too, which is not the most liberal state, but they were great. The school was wonderful.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
And so when did you decide to move up here to New York? Is it when you actually got Newsies, or were you already here trying to book a job and you
So I
landed
moved after I graduated in May of 2012. Yeah, May of 2012, and then I moved. I did summer stock at Music Theater of Wichita the following summer, and that's where I got my equity card. And then I did a concert in North Carolina, and I moved that September. So I graduated in May, did some work, and then moved September. And I was actually commuting from home for a little while in Connecticut to save money, and it was easy enough and close. And I knew I always wanted to be in New York. Mm-hmm. But I just was auditioning, and luckily, it was really fast. Newsies came in January. Actually, about a year ago, I was, in callbacks.
And Newsies is obviously not a very strenuous show to be in. How do you maintain your body's energy, not only throughout the show, but when you leave? It's not all of a sudden like, oh, well, great, Newsies is over for tonight. Let's go to bed.
It's like, we do I'm on such a different schedule. Actually, I was, we have construction in our building, and I was up early this morning, and I had to explain to them, my work nights, like I do, my schedule's different.
Yeah.
So that was a big adjustment, but it's a lot of sleep, a lot of water. Yeah, after the show, I'm so wound up that it's kind of hard. As exhausted as I am, it's hard to go right to bed. So.
Well, then you have the stage door to handle, because
absolutely.
The Newsies fans are.
We love it.
Yep.
It keeps us alive, and it makes us appreciate even more what we have.
What is your favorite track in the show, and what do you feel is the hardest one? Not that you haven't mastered them all, because you've been in it for a year, but what was the one you had the toughest time with?
In terms of the musical numbers, what's the hardest one? My favorite one is probably King of New York. I love the energy, and I'm Morris Delancey and I'm a Newsie, so I double as both.
Right.
But I don't do Seize the Day because I'm Morris in that
number. At that point, yeah.
So I switch back and forth, but King of New York, I get to be one of the gang, and that's probably the most fun I have on stage. But I don't know what the hardest part was. Maybe some of the transitional dances. The bows are pretty tricky. You know, I didn't come from a dance background. I only started dancing when I got to college, so that's just got a little bit, you know, I was a little late in the game, but Elon kind of whipped my butt into shape and really pushed
So by
me.
the time you were in got Newsies, you were right up to par with everybody else.
Yeah, you know, they are amazing at Newsies, and they are wonderful in that they understand that each actor and performer is an individual, and they really help to shape new choreography when people come in and to make adjustments, and so that you know, I show my strongest points. Yeah.
What other shows would you like to be a part of that you haven't done in college, or not that you're, you know, not that Newsies is going anywhere anytime soon, or you are, but if you had the opportunity to do it after Newsies? After
Newsies, well, I mean, there's a lot of wonderful stuff in New York that I'd love to be a part of. I saw Pippin recently. I think that's an unbelievable production. I would love to be a part of that. Yeah, Pippin, you know, I was a music theater nerd growing up, and so Fiyero and Wicked would, you know, that's all, you know, it's kind of what whoever will have me.
Right.
And I would love to be part of an original piece. I think that's something that's, to be part of something from the ground up is amazing.
Do you have any theatrical people that you admire that kind of inspire you to do what you do, or even a film or television actor?
Growing up, I remember I came in to see Dirty Rotten Scoundrels in high school, and I saw Norbert Leo Butz, and I think that he's just such an unbelievable chameleon of an actor. You know, he's so intrinsically Norbert Leo Butz, but he can do anything. And I think that his energy, his fearlessness is something that I really admire.
Now, on the flip side of that, what advice would you give to people who are just starting out, either in the business or just at that point of college where they're shaky about whether they really think they can do it?
My advice, and I say this a lot, is don't just focus on your strengths. You know, I think that that's something that it's a two-part thing, this industry. It's knowing what you can do and what makes you unique, and you're your own trump card. You know, you're when it comes to college, when it comes to auditioning, when it comes to life, you make you special. So that's, you know, you set yourself apart with your personality, with your talents, what you can offer. And at the same time, this industry is getting more and more competitive, and that everybody needs to do everything.
Right.
I mean, you look at shows, and it's like, I mean, Pippin, you gotta be a triple threat. You gotta act, sing, dance, and do circus tricks. You know, with this recent revival of Cabaret, it's act, sing, dance, and play instruments, once. So just gather as many skills as you can. Don't force something, but really try to take everything in and learn about the world, not just theater.
And if you're focusing on only your strengths, you're making your weaknesses even weaker.
Absolutely, by comparison, sure.
Do you have a preference when it comes to singing, dancing, or acting?
I think that, I think I grew up loving to sing, and that was kind of my first love, and that was kind of what got me into it. But I think that acting is so instrumental in all three. That it's become my favorite. I think becoming, you know, the ability to transform and become someone else is really wonderful and a great thing about theater.
Are you understudying either Jack or Davy's characters?
I understudy both.
And have you gone on for either?
I've gone on for Jack about 15 times, and I'm actually on tonight. And I'm on, Davy I haven't had the chance to go on yet. But
so then you have had to do Seize the Day then?
I have had to do Seize the Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not when just seeing people flying around and dancing on those newspapers.
Yeah, I got to do the paper dance, that's true.
Yeah.
But I don't have to flip and do all the crazy turns, but, you know, it's a challenge in itself dancing on the newspaper.
Tonight they're changing it on you. They just let me know before you came here. You're going to be one of the favorite. Yeah, you're flipping. Do you have a preference between Jack and Davy? Does one come easier to you? Even though you've not gone on for Davy.
I think that Jack is more of a challenge, only because he's so different from who I am as growing up. He's a kid who lived on the street. He had a really rough life. He, didn't have a family, and he has this really tough outer shell, and I think that I consider myself to be a pretty open guy and pretty laid back, and I grew up in Connecticut, and I haven't had that bad of a life. So I think Davey's a little bit more relatable in that he's a little bit more straight-laced, and Jack's kind of more of a loose cannon. But that's not to say that Davey doesn't have his challenges. I think Jack is a marathon of a role, and that's kind of something that's been really tricky to, you know, take on. But I don't think there's any role on Broadway right now that's like that part.
Yeah.
And especially for someone my age, you know, I think it's an incredible writing.
With a show like Newsies, camaraderie is very important. And you could tell when you see that show that everybody loves what they're doing and performing for the audience. So that makes the show all the more enjoyable, other than the fact that it is already at the level of enjoyment.
Yeah.
You know, but you guys all seem like you have each other's backs,
yeah,
which
it's
is
like,
great.
You know, the show's a band of brothers.
Brotherhood, yeah.
You know, and that's what we are backstage, and sisters too. You know, we've got 4 or 5 girls in the show.
They're outnumbered, but they're
outnumbered, but they, you know, but we need a little, you know, girls to mix it up in there. But they're great, you know, and yeah, I think that we're so appreciative. It's a lot of people starting out in this industry. A lot of people who are making their Broadway debuts. A lot of people are making their musical debut. And we have some people who come from the dance background, and so I think everyone's just so grateful to be where they are, and we just have so much fun backstage that it matches it on stage.
Yeah, you can definitely tell.
Yeah, it's what makes the show so special.
Yep. Well, Adam, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me. And we look forward to more to come from you.
Yeah, come check us out.